Yeah, the live doesn't work.
It's working now, and we're live.
Okay, nice. Well, so let's just start
So
with
again, Vernon was a farmer, very important farmer.
yeah,
Also a silhouette artist. Also, he used to make little stick figures. He's very good at that.
yeah.
Ah,
We are sure about the
but
figures, but we are
like
not sure about the farmer thing.
we're not sure about the meaning. No, but actually, it's kind of crazy, right? That there are people in the silhouette artist community that know about Vernon, know he exists. They don't even know he's a magician. They just know like, oh, he was a really good silhouette.
Yeah, it's
Like they should know, man, what kind of magician he was.
yeah. I think in other part of the world there are like two other people, creating like invisible silhouettes practice, with the Instagram account, and they are doing an Instagram live and or YouTube live. They are talking like, you know what, guys? In Magic World, many of them they don't know he was a silhouette artist. It's crazy, right? He was one of the best.
Would you think that in like an alternate universe that we would be silhouette artists and we would be having a podcast about being a silhouette artist?
Probably, probably. Yeah, I'm pretty
But you know the
sure.
crazy thing, in still in the other universe, Vernon is still above a silhouette artist and a magician.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. Well, so Rico, when when I say, for example, well, I'm going to say a couple of words, okay, and you have to tell me the meaning for you, okay. So
Mm-hmm.
if I say Vernon, it's your answer probably is going to be like super long. So I'm going to say like shorter things, like
Mm-hmm.
more concrete concepts. So
Okay.
I'm going to start with something very concrete, like ambitious card routine.
The Vernon
Okay, caps and balls.
by Vernon. Or actually, well, ambitious card, I would probably say double backer and cups and balls like the spinning wand, which
Okay,
again are both moves from.
the cone and the ball.
Well, but actually, fret caps.
Okay, yeah, but Vernon, right?
Yeah, well, it started with Vernon, but the best version I've ever seen is caps, man. Because like, you know, how the cone is sort of a weird object. I mean, I really like Ricardo Harada's version. It's like
Yeah.
I don't know if I say the name right, but it's a really beautiful version. But caps fucking nailed it, man. Because he had this whole act with like the champagne bottle, and the bubbles of champagne would come out of the bottle, and he would
Yeah.
take the champagne glass, and then he would grab one of the bubbles, which would become the ball, and do the whole routine with this. You have a
Yeah.
cone, which is the glass. And it's amazing.
The production of 5 coins for stage.
Coin and glass, yeah, for him.
Okay, what about the linking rings?
But actually, is that production Fernand's?
Well, it was something
Because I
based
don't think
on,
it is. But
well, it's something classical based on the plot, like the golden. I think you call it like no the silver. I don't know how you call it in English. It's like el sueño de
the
la barba.
mice's dream,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. When you produce
like
like
the thing
many,
that El Faso is so known for.
yeah, and but there are many other versions, and actually I used to have like a book. I think I have it
Mm-hmm.
here. Actually, this
Mm-hmm.
one by Alfredo Flores. I can find it right now if you want while we are talking. And there are
Mm-hmm.
like many, many, many versions here about it. And yeah, of course, in like there are like many versions, but I think Vernon's is very interesting because you use a glass. It's like very interesting. You have, for example, here, this kind of objects like Kalar's one or Almeiner's one or
Mm-hmm.
Almer's. Like I don't know if you can see it on camera.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah, to introduce the coins during the routine. Like a couple of
Mm-hmm.
them or two of them at the same time. Um, there are like many versions. So you have in this book like different routines where you can use it. What about the coins through the table?
Yeah, I'm gonna say Vernon again.
Yeah. So there are. I could continue with this, or assemblies, or so. Where I'm going
Well,
to
assemblies,
go
I would say Merlin.
as well. Yeah. Where I'm going to go is like Vernon has touched everything, or
Mhm.
almost everything. So I think we can't avoid studying him, even if you want to avoid him. Yeah.
I think that's true.
So what happened to me when I started doing magic was I had a couple of contacts with magicians. They used to teach me, like the Charlier's cuts and this kind of handlings. Like for example the Emsley count, or very simple handlings. And
Mhm.
but I didn't know anything about anyone. And then I met some magicians with huge knowledge, and they used to start, naming, Vernon. And I was saying Vernon, 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 and then I discovered, reading the books and everything, that many things that I learned in the past and I didn't know, the authors, these things came from Vernon. you know
Mhm.
Maybe he didn't create them, but he introduced these things on the panorama. It happens, for
Or he made
example,
it
with
better.
Ernest. Yeah, it happens, for example, with Ernest's book. Like the expert at the card
Mhm.
table. It was a very, weird book. No one wanted to use it, in the practical, like a practical thing, for magic. And Vernon give it, a different dimension. Understood,
Mhm.
the knowledge that was behind all this stuff. So yeah, that's why I was asking you, about all these things. I could continue, or
Mhm.
we can talk about many stories about, for example, Kennedy's Central Deal, all these kind of things that
Oh,
Vernon
that's a
didn't
great
create.
story, though. It's such a good
Yeah,
story.
that Vernon didn't create, but he was looking for many times, many time, for a long time, to this dealer, this gambler.
Mhm. Yeah, but
And he
sort of the
convinced
other
him.
question is also, did Vernon really not create? Because in general, a lot of things that we know from Vernon, of course, are things he made better, right? Things he touched and then they became better. But is he not like? 'Cause that's also a way of creating, isn't it? To just touch something and to make it better, to recognize what is good and maybe recognize what from another routine is good, to put that together and then make an even stronger, better effect.
Well, I think there is a big difference between, for example, the details that he used to give when you wanted to put an object on the hand, keeping it on the
Mhm.
hand, like he used to say, like if you grab a ball with your middle finger and with the thumb touches a little bit the palm of the hand, and in this moment you start closing the hand, and this is a little interpretation. It isn't like a very huge creative work on it. It is more like a
Mhm.
didactic way to teach something. He has learned
Mhm.
how to do it perfect. It's a creative way, but it's more like in the secret aspect. But in the same plane, in the same movement, there is a more creative interpretation of this when he
Mhm.
talks about retention vanish, because it's a movement that is there's an exposition. And in my opinion, well, I don't really like this movement, but this is just
Mhm.
an example to talk about the real difference between, or for example, about the double lift. There were many magicians before him showing cards, like this, on the stage, or these kind of things, probably because the quality of the cars, had a very good evolution as well. but Vernon was the first one, very worried on the handling of
But
this.
that's still something you see, because if you're reading, for example, Erdnase, which of course Vernon was a great proprietor of, you see in Erdnase there's two methods for the second duo, right? One goes like from the top, so from the short side you put your thumb there and your second duo from there, and the second method is sort of a more loose grip that goes from the side.
Yeah.
And in Erdnase it says that he prefers the first method. The reason is that the first method gives you more control over the cards. Well, if we look at the cards today, that's not necessarily true. Like I experience that there's as much control over those cards using both methods. But in the time of Erdnase and also Vernon, it makes sense that we had all these double lifts where you had to count of cards and hold a break, or for the deals that you would push them off from the side because you had diagonal pressure, right? From the top to you had pressure from the top to the base of your hand. So this would give you more control over the card. It makes sense. Why did we have all those techniques instead of having a push of second deal from the side, which is a perfect double lift? Because the cards were worse. And this is very often something people don't take into consideration. Which is good that you're saying it, because a lot of people don't realize. They say, "Oh yeah, but how come that this double lift was used by them while this method is better?" Well, because that method wasn't possible 20 years ago, because the cards were shit.
Yeah.
Well, probably 20 years, but 40, 50 years ago, not. The cards were much more shitty. They weren't as developed, as smooth, as nice, staying as loose from each other. You had to do second deals like that and double lifts like that, because otherwise you would run into the risk of turning over 5 cards.
Yeah. Well, I have a very, very special opinion about the cars that we supposed to, we think these cars were better than the ones that we have today. For example, we usually say that bicycles, rider bikes were much better than the ones that we have today. And actually,
I agree with that, though.
Yeah, but when I started in Magic, I used to practice with rider backs, because it was like 17 years ago, and we used to have like in factories, like thousands of decks, like these ones, even with Pavo Real decks, it's like a kind of Fournier. I talked to you about many times. So the thing is, when you have this kind of decks, the precision and the perfection of these kind of materials are very, very good. So the thing is, with a little bit of humidity or with everything, the deck is going to be a little bit, delicate. So the thing is, I think many people from today couldn't work with this kind of decks. So today, if we would have like the two decks and the two options, like one deck from today and the other ones, and the very good ones, I think many people would go with the ones that we have today. For example, in my opinion, these ones, tallyhoos with the circle, are the best ones now. One of the best ones. I don't want to say this is the best one, because I don't know. For example, Phoenix
No, but
has had
actually, I
very good.
agree with. Actually, I agree with that, and a lot of other cardmen have agreed as well. Like Mike agrees with me on this, Jason Ladani agrees with me on this. You agree with me on this, and a lot of other people. Well, like I think Tallyho is the deck that has held their consistency the best, and that's still like the highest quality, lasts the longest, and are the best for Pharaoh shuffles as well. Like the quality is consistent. And with a bicycle deck, I'm not always sure whether I can properly do a perfect Pharaoh with them or not. But with a Teleho deck, I never have to worry, unless the deck is like really old and sticky and shitty. But even with the best deck in the world, I couldn't do it if the deck was like that.
Yeah, of course, and even you can find like many problems or issues, in the tallyho about, for example, with a little bit of humidity, you can feel like when you reverse a card, there is like a little breach or whatever, but it helps you to do other kind of techniques. So I'm not talking about a deck for playing cards on the table. I'm using a deck of cards for Magic, even not for cardistry. Maybe for cardistry, I think for cardistry there are people who have like many more knowledge about cards to determine which ones are the best ones, and I think they have
Yeah.
produced like very high quality decks, but yeah. So in my
Yeah,
opinion,
but
Vernon,
that's also subjective, right? Which deck is the best deck? Because what do you want to do with the deck?
yeah,
But interesting point that is though, because you have those new Copac decks, or new, they're like 2 or 3 years old now, but the Copac 305, I think they're called. Um, I was in Great Britain, they were fucking great. In the Netherlands, Belgium, they're freaking amazing. Came to Poland and everyone just kept telling me how much they hate this deck. I was
yeah,
like, why do you hate this deck? This deck is amazing. But then Poland is like sort of in some ways like a similar atmosphere to Spain, like in terms of like how humid the air is and how warm it is. And I could just feel I opened the deck. It was amazing. As the day went on at night, I opened the deck and it bended every way and it felt sweaty and like it was twice as big. And I was like, oh, these cards, they feel so horrible to handle. And I came back home and they were like, perfect.
it happened to me with because someone gave me, as a present, a Copac deck,
Mm-hmm.
and it was quite fun because when I opened the deck, I was it was summer, in summer,
Mm-hmm.
and my city in summer is almost 50 degrees,
Mm-hmm.
Celsius, no Fahrenheit. Fahrenheit, I think is, I don't know, but it has to be like, I don't know. Let me find it just for people from America and other places. Celsius to Celsius to Fahrenheit. So yeah, it's 122 more or less. So it's almost 50. I don't say it's 50. It's like 45, 47, 48.
Mm-hmm.
So when I opened the deck, the cards were like a paper, like but like smoking paper, like very very thin, like it was impossible to handle. And when I went
Mm-hmm.
back to London, I didn't use the deck in many months. So when winter came, I was in London,
Mm-hmm.
I found the deck, and I just opened the deck to see, the evolution of the deck, and the deck was perfect, and I fall in love of the deck, and I was saying like, what the hell? And I just talked to other friends, and many people told me like, yeah, it depends on the country, humidity, and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, like I think we should go back to Vernon. Yeah.
It's an interesting go around though, because in regards to Fernan, like you have this double lift with Fernan where you use your ring finger sort of to have to push the card off as well. You also use your thumb.
Like the wave.
And I
That's
was always
how Spanish
thinking,
people call it. Yeah.
sorry, how did they call it?
Yeah, in the Spanish people call it like the wave because it's like a wave on
Mm.
the beach.
Ah,
Yeah,
it's a very nice double. But it makes sense. It's a very nice double lift.
I love it.
But I was always wondering, like, why is this like the double lift Fernan used? Why not just like a simple pusher from the side? Cards.
Yeah.
That's my explanation for it. Just cards. But I think
So
like Vernon was very, very important for Magic. If you look at what he created, but especially the way, like, I think his most important contribution to Magic is still his principle, like they call the Vernon touch, the be natural. So this is thrown around so much. Be natural and be yourself. Or actually, it's be natural and think with your head, right? But but what does he mean? Well, he doesn't mean um, I'm going to determine right now what is natural for all of us, and all of us have to do this. But rather, he means, yeah, dude, look at yourself, look at the mirror. How do you put the coin in your hand? And now you're going to do the exact same thing without putting the coin in your hand.
yeah,
Or you fake it. And the beauty about this, which Fred Capps does so beautifully, like perfectly, is that if you do this properly, it looks like magic because nothing happens. Dude, I was watching this video from Caps with where he was doing coin magic, Caps on coins. You can buy it over at library.com. And he does like Edward Victor's spellbound routine,
yeah,
which of course we know from Stars of Magic from Vernon. But he does Edward Victor Spellbound routine, which doesn't have like the Vernon things with first palm and stuff, but it just uses two finger palms. And he does it so perfectly that it fooled me. I was just looking like, what? How? Like, but I know how it works, but it just looked so perfectly that I was like, there's no way, this is magic.
Yeah. This is like the video where he explains, like the how to live, how to put a ball, into another hand,
Mm-hmm.
and he's explaining, and all the time you said, okay, now he has to do like the secret movement, and he opens the hand, and the ball isn't there, and you're like, what the fuck? He does it again, and he say, again, what the what is going on, he
Mm-hmm.
fools you, all the time, every time it's like, oh my god. And there's something very interesting on Ascanio's book about naturalness.
Mm-hmm.
There is a Spanish magician talking to Ascanio, and he asks him about naturalness and Vernon and everything. And about they are talking about the palm, because Vernon used to talk about the palm and how to leave the hands on the table, and the deck on the table, the hands should come back, and everything, and this guy was saying like he didn't really find, like a way to be natural with cars, on the hands, and he had a very long beard, and as Kanye said, Vernon meant like everyone should be as natural as they are, like we don't have to be the same, everyone is going to be natural as they are, in their real life. You're touching your
Mm-hmm.
beard, so palm a card, touch your beard, and leave it alone. It's like that's what you should do. So that's the
Mm-hmm.
good thing about Vernon. It's like Vernon is an author that you can read on your own, and you can understand everything. That's something very cool, because he talks about very simple things. He talks about the basic things, about techniques. Vernon is focused on the secret. He was focused on the secrets all the time. So the evolution of his magic is more about how to do something, then how to be creative on this, how to put more new methods and everything, and how to cover these methods using natural movements of being natural or whatever, so but everything is about the secret. And
Mm-hmm.
Ascanio then took this point, where Vernon finished, and Ascanio was about how to cover everything, so that's why he studied cover and construction, but Vernon's work is very important because he was, like a mirror for many other people, like Marlowe, like Larry Jennings, like Charlie Miller, like many, many other
Mm-hmm.
magicians. And magicians before Vernon were, amazed about his figure, about, oh my God, this guy is like a tornado, he destroys everything, where he goes. So
Well, I guess it would be pretty safe to say that Vernon put down a blueprint for magic.
yeah,
How should we perform? How should we behave and conduct ourselves? But also, what's interesting about Vernon is that, like today, we focus a lot on improbability. So these two cubes match, or this deck of card matches, or whatever. But Vernon was very much focused on impossibility. I have the feeling of just leaving people like, no, this can't be.
yeah,
And I have the feeling he had a very good understanding of when to use visual things and when to not use them. Because if you read, for example, Inner Card Trilogy, you have a lot of beautiful color changes in there. Some of them are crazy, like the one from Cliff Green where he has the freaking card in one in back palm and one like in the hand, and he switches them, and you go like, dude, what the heck? How can you even do that? Beautiful visual color change. But even though he knew all these things, like he very often still uses the implicit things, the things where you have to work yourself, or the audience rather work themselves to finish the magical image. You don't see what happens, but you only see the result of the thing that happens.
Hmm.
So I guess he was a bit more in balance than where today we are focusing on visual, 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 visual. But because we focus so much on visual, we lose the magic because people can realize, oh, I saw this happen, so that has to be the result. That has to be why the magic. I don't know what you did, but you did something. But if you don't see anything and something has happened, you go, what the heck? That's not possible.
Yeah. Well, there's something interesting in Vernon about visual things. Like
Mm.
he puts like visual effects. Where people didn't do. Like visual effects. Like he talks about, for example, the retention vanish. And
Mm.
there are not like many ideas previous to Vernon about being like very very open to do these kind of things. Or for example, you have a routine on Leipzig's book, and the Leipzig's book is written by Louis Ganson, but because Louis Ganson has Vernon's notes on Leipzig's work.
Mm.
So in this book, you have a routine where there are like a lot of color changes, and yeah, that one, and you have like a lot of color changes. And Vernon takes this, and then he works on more visual color changes, where you can see, till the end, like the hand, like very very close, and then you open the hand, and everything is very visual. So
Mm.
Vernon takes what exists, puts this in a different scale, like he transforms everything. So in my opinion, that's why he's so important for magic, and at that moment. um,
Totally.
there's other very important thing about him. If you compare the magicians that were before him, and everything, he appeared on Magic Panorama when there were
Mm.
like very important magicians older than him, and these magicians, when these magicians die, he was between the magicians before him and magicians after him, so he was like in the middle. And for example, in Europe, you have like Alex Hemsley and many other magicians, or Fred Capps, or but Vernon was a reference but for all magicians, like Hugard and Broy had like a very long experience in magic, and they were stealing Vernon's material for their books, So
What
it's
about
like,
Charlie though? Poor Charlie, man.
as well. Well, Charlie was
Mm.
his student.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, it's nice because Vernon was like someone very 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 important in magic, and no one could say like something different, like because everyone was
Mm.
using Vernon's techniques, or it is like Ascanio today, for example, is
I mean, Vernon was very good, and very often, whenever like, I have one of my friends, Aliash, and he's also the friend whenever I see him, I try to show him something new. Like 9 out of 10 times, when I show him something that he's really impressed with, he goes like, "Whoa, where's that from?" I say Vernon. I'm like, "Oh, Vernon." So I was like, "Whoa, where's that from?" It's like, "Well, I think you know, Vernon." Yeah, yeah. The last time that was the Dave Campbell Legacy. It was every time I showed him, like, "Where the fuck was that from?" Dave Campbell Legacy. And I learned like 10 tricks from the book, and like the whole day I was showing him shit. I was like, Dave Campbell Legacy, Dave Campbell Legacy. Like, whoa, that's really good. Yeah, those are the first 10 tricks in the book.
yeah. It's really nice. Vernon, for example, was one of a very important magician introducing, for example, Hoffinser's material on the magic panorama in the States,
Mm.
because this is my opinion, but I have arguments for this opinion, because opinions are shit if you don't have, like, reasons behind,
Yeah,
opinions
true.
are important if you don't have arguments. So I think Hoffinser's magic hasn't been understood in Great Britain and America, magic
Mm.
panorama. There are a few magicians who really understood the material, but the majority of the panorama see Hoffinser's material like someone else, and it isn't. And it doesn't matter if Hoffinser's was
What do you mean with that? What do you mean with a majority of the magicians see Hofstenser's material as someone else?
because Hoffinser wasn't a magician, he was an artist, and that's something totally different. So when we talk about important magicians, we can include Hoffinser in history. We can include Hoffinser because Hoffinser is in another league,
Mm.
and there is no other magicians that you can compare to Hoffinser. And the thing is, yeah, but probably there is, because many people say, yeah, but we are not sure about the real methods of his magic or his figure. Or, for example, many people say, imagine that many people, a group of 3 people, for example, created the picture of Hoffinser, like the image, the caricature of Hoffinser, and Hoffinser never ceased. Okay,
Well, we have his grave.
yeah, we have his grave, but it
We
doesn't
have
matter.
newspaper articles, but
Yeah,
still, go on.
yeah. Imagine, and
Mm.
Hoffinser's material is totally performable today. With the same methods and with the same scripts, and the intention of this, and the lessons that you can extract from his magic is awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah,
And
well, but then, like, in some way, I agree with what you say, but in some way, I also disagree with that, because we could say, like, well, this person was an artist, so he wasn't a magician, so he doesn't fit the spectrum. But on the other hand, he was an artist, so he should be, like, when judging him, we could judge him as an artist, not as a magician. But at the same time, he did magic, so he did stuff which, in the end, also for us today, was very, very important in the history of magic. It's very, very important to learn from us. So in some way, it's like the same that Vernon did. It's elevating magic, bringing it to a new level. Well, if we judge him, we should judge him as an artist. That's definitely a fact.
yeah,
But I
but
also think
who is
we
performing?
should
Sorry,
say he's a magician.
but who is performing Hoffinser's material? The thing
Well,
is,
though they used to be Hofstadter, right? But
yeah, but where I going to go, where I want to go is, like, for example, he has like the numerical concordance. I don't know if you call it like this in
mm,
English. This
is that the
first.
one where you? That's the one, right? Where you say you're gonna pick 10. You count
Yeah,
down to 10, and then, like, all the people have picked the 10, and
yeah,
there's 10 cards on the table. Right?
yeah. In non plus, I think is
Ultra.
yeah, in non plus ultra. In these volumes, Magic Christian has, I think, is in he has like some comments on this,
Mm.
about the real way that Hoffinser used to do it. So the so the thing is, many people try to have version about this, because the problems that they found on this version, on the original routine, is about the forces. And it's like, or for example, with other routines, it's about, yeah, but Hoffinser was doing, I don't know, using duplicates or other, I don't know. There are like many, many, many excuses, and the thing is, the routine is perfect as it is, you know. And
It
if you
is.
study,
Yeah.
for example, Chopin music, you know, Chopin's music
Mm,
has, you know, like many, many, many notes about how his music should be played. Why
mm,
don't we play his magic as he used to perform it, you know, or as Ottokar Fischer, you know, said that he used to perform it, you know. So that's why. So Vernon was one of the first magicians who introduced half inserts on the magic panorama, and I think
mm.
this is very, very important, because yeah, when I was reading about Vernon, you know, and about half inserts, about it, it was like, oh my god, this is something huge. Actually, half
Mm.
inserts, well, a book was the first one that arrived into my hands, you know. Going to charge the
Really?
computer. Yeah, it was the first one.
The blue one from Atoka Fisher.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, that's why I really like it.
Mm. I think it's a good book, but like in some way, I think Vernon was also an artist.
In what way? Like a creator, like a
Well, because there is an artistic sense needed in order to make things better. Well, because let's say like you could be a cover band and just be a cover band, right? But you could also be a cover band of no original songs and still be an artist. Depends on how you play the music. Um, but then like if we go into the discussion of our magic, we would never have the degree of higher art. We would get to the degree of true art, not to higher art, because we're still imitating something that's out there, but we're making it our own in such a way that it's still artful. Vernon was very good at that, but Vernon was also very good at giving us today, right now, all those tools that we need to create a higher art. But the things he did was like artful, masterful. He was very good at recognizing this is good, this is not good, or this could potentially be good, but it's missing this, 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 and this. And if we add this to it, it's going to be amazing.
yeah,
So yeah, he might have not created that many, but even he created some things, um, but I guess his most interesting contribution to magic is still making all those things better, and all the magicians that he knew and brought together, and sort of like all the people he inspired. Because look, dude, like you have freaking Charlie Miller, who was amazing, and not so much is written about Charlie, which is a real shame. But you had Larry Jennings, which was supposed to be really good. You had Alex Ampley was also inspired by Fern. Gaps was chilling with Fern and inspired. Scanio was, of course, inspired by Vernon, but also even Tamaris in his book Sonata, like the whole second chapter is dedicated to Vernon. Right? And the way he describes Vernon is so beautiful. Vernon was so natural and so suave, and so like interesting as a person. Because what I've also heard about Vernon, which is a very good lesson we can learn, by the way, is that Vernon wasn't just a good magician. He could talk with anyone about anything, and he was an interesting person outside of magic.
yeah,
And that's a good lesson because, I mean, you're to me, you're a very interesting person. You know a lot about things. If I would take that whole magic library behind you and I would put it into a fire pit,
it's
and I would
incomplete,
take
but
someone to go to London and burn that suitcase as well. You would still be a very interesting person. You would hate me, but you would be a very interesting person.
it would be a killer as well.
Yeah, definitely. I would be escaping and running throughout the world, but
Yeah, I think the artist part of Vernon was like very similar to Gabi, you know, or Gabi very similar to Vernon, because I think
mm,
when Vernon, when Gabi, when they were young, you know, they were performing everywhere, you know, and then
mm,
they used to perform in any occasion, but they didn't have like much professional, you know, like performances, and they
Mhm.
have like more occasional professional performances.
But is
And
that true for Vernon also? Because Vernon was also a professional magician for multiple phases in his life.
yeah, but what I'm saying is like Vernon wasn't, you know, like the kind of a magician of performing for private events, like for example we can be today, you know, like performing in
Mm.
parties, or he used to perform everywhere, you know, but he wasn't like us. But he was the professor. So where I go, it's like Vernon had, you know, this kind of thing, you know, that every single mentor have, you know, that it's like the after a very long experience, you know, performing on everything, he has like all this knowledge, and he knows how to transmit this knowledge, you know. So I think
Mm.
Vernon has this, you know.
Mm.
I don't know. He has, for example, other part of his material, because in the inner card trilogy you can find like very good magic for lay people, very good magic for magicians, very good
Mm.
magic for freak people, you know, like the Chinese deal, the one that is with one hand, you know, these kind of things.
Dude, Chinese second deal, man. Oh my god.
Yeah, or many of this. But for example, then he was
Well, the deal that you just did is actually from Nepal.
yeah, and Marlowe has I think Marlowe has published the same, you know, with one hand.
I think Marlowe published everything in every book behind you.
Yeah, probably. Stiller. What? So yeah. So what I want to say is like, I think after this, Vernon was publishing his material, you know, like dividing more the contents, you know, like
Mm.
for example, Chronicles, the 4 volumes are
Mm.
more for it's like more specific material, you know, for magicians, you know, like he has 4 volumes. One of them is about his life, and the
Mm.
rest are like very good routines. Well, he has like the nuts and the glass routine. This is
Great
amazing.
routine. Mm.
It's a very beautiful routine, and no
Very
one does
painful
this
for your
routine.
fingers.
But it's beautiful.
Well,
Um,
I do a 3 coin version for stage, but it's heavily based on Fernand's version. Because what I figured, right, is that like Fernand's version is beautiful, but problem with it for me is that you have 5 coins. You sort of repeat everything 5 times all the time, but that's sort of worth it for the ending because
oh
that's
yeah,
such beautiful imagery.
at the coins. Yeah, I meant like the nuts,
Oh, the nuts. Okay.
like the routine where you have like a tray with a glass, and you put it like this,
Oh yeah, yeah. Mhm.
and the nuts disappear from your hand, between your hands, and they appear on the glass. You know.
Oh, I heard like coins, coins and
Mm.
glass.
And yeah, but yeah, the coins as well. He has like many other things. Work on poker ideas, or on Gilbreth
Mm.
principle. Yeah, I think the books are interesting. Yeah, or for example, the articles in other books, articles on the Vernon touch. You know, this is
Mm.
very important as well.
Die Vernon Book of Magic. That's a very important book in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah.
If you could choose one Vernon book, like let's say right now I would have this Man in Black light, to zap everything from your memory, and you could choose one Vernon book which wouldn't make you forget. Which one would it
Forget.
be? Yeah, you're gonna forget everything you ever read about Vernon except for one book. But
You're
like
going
not
to,
about Vernon, but just from the Vernon books.
yeah, you're going to kill me, but I would say, where is it? This one, the first one.
Early Vernon. Okay.
It's like the manuscript of the $3 and the $20.
Why is that? Why would you choose this one?
Because you have here the essence of everything that after this, you can read. For example, you have here Vernon's poker routine, and this routine is published in other books later.
Mm,
You have the invisible deck effect here.
mm. Yeah, that's what a lot of people don't know, but this was actually the idea for Vernon.
You have retention vanish. You have an amazing very very like new idea for a transposition, numerical transposition. You have
Mm,
like this color change, using like this palm. You
mm.
have like the oblique palm. I don't know how to say it in English. You have as well, I don't know, like many things. You have as well these kind of things that leave you a little bit shocked about
Mm.
Vernon, about like non-ambitious card routine. What is like
Like, yeah,
Vernon?
that's not so good.
Is it
What are you
you,
doing, Vernon?
Vernon? Who is your dealer? Come on, tell me.
Just imagine he put that routine in there just to see if people could recognize what's good or not.
I think it was like a joke, like I think at that time, many people were like saying he was like God, like the best magician ever, and he was like, I think I'm going to put here, a very bad thing, and let's see if they can clap as well, if they tell me like good words, or they have enough guts to tell me, like this is this is not good.
Shit.
I don't know, because it doesn't make sense. It's like, what the fuck, Or he has an assembly very interesting using the transfer, So
Mm.
he has like many, many, many things, many others. Following the leader, I don't know. It's the essence. What about you? Inner card?
I'm gonna say Inner Card Trilogy, but that's mainly because Inner Card Trilogy is like the first Vernon book I ever read. It's also the first Magic book I ever bought, I think. Yeah, the first Magic book I ever bought. It's an amazing book. But especially it's an amazing book because when you read it as a beginner, you read a lot of interesting things. But then when you read it again as like you're a more mature magician, you find a lot of other interesting things. Like for example, the bent corner prediction was something I never noticed. It's not something I would really use for lay people because to me it's not ideal the way it's done. For magicians for sure, it's gonna fool the fuck out of them. But it's a good routine and it's also a good it's a good early solution to any card at any number. That's routine. Or rather card at any number. But it's a good solution. It's very easy. It's very straightforward. It's a very nice solution. Of course, we have emotional reaction in that book, which in my opinion is one of the best tricks ever done. Because we have this principle which opens doors, which is a beautiful principle which a lot of people know and we disregard very easily. But then there's already little touches like the Royal Road, which already make the principle much better. But then if you look at Vernon's version, like that's a great version, and especially the dual reality. And something I recently noticed from the Inner Core Trilogy book is that there's a lot of tips on presentation in the book.
Yeah.
A lot of ways where you say, do this, do that, or present it like this, or say this, say that, right? Like with the emotional reaction, it actually I never noticed it, but he whispers to someone being called from the street. That's fucking annoying. Near my window, his phone is going. It's pretty annoying. Anyway, I was being distracted. I'm sorry. but he actually like he whispers to the person for the last cut to say, just make one more cut. Just be and then he says louder, be extra secure. And then people think that the spectator on himself makes an extra cut, which you need to put the key card next to the card, which finishes the whole entire method. But at the same time, it gives the feeling to everyone in the audience like he doesn't like before he already couldn't know, but now there's no freaking way because this person did something which he didn't instruct him to do. And then of
Yeah,
course you can play it as this. This is very strong. This is very powerful. And then later in the book, there's other things which are so good, man.
he has many ideas, like these silly ideas, and naughty ideas as well, and for example, in this book, in the manuscript of the $3 and the $20, early Vernon in Spanish, I don't know in
Mm,
English, he tells, Fawcett Ross tells
mm,
stories about Vernon, this kind of techniques that he learned from many gamblers, he
mm,
used to use a lipstick painting that he used to put in here to mark the card, the cards, to use it to guess the identity of a card. And it has had, a lot of influence on Tamaris. um and Vernon has another thing very interesting about this, because for example, there is in this book, a piece of magic where he knows everything about a card except for the suit.
mm,
So he has the card right here, and he has to name the card, so the card in this case, well, let me take, for example, this one. Let's suppose is the 6 of clubs. Okay, so he knows everything except for the suit. So he knows it's a black card, is the 6, and well, so he says, so you are thinking of an even card and a black card, and your card is exactly the 6 of clubs. So he's
mm.
naming the card at the same time he's looking
That's
at the card.
awesome. Yeah.
So the thing is, the sense, of this is very powerful, because he's giving, some details before, and he's, looking at other place, but he
Mm.
can really, it's very, very, very powerful. And this kind of
That's a
things,
very good
uh,
detail.
I've seen these things on Tamaris, so I think Tamaris
Mm.
has many to thanks to Diver, and
But there's
so
also like you also see a lot of things from Vernon and Gabi, for example, because like
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I also saw today a video of Follow the Leader, and I
What do you
never liked
think?
Follow. Oh my god, dude! Like I never liked Follow the Leader, or it's I liked the idea of the effect, but it always felt wrong to me. And I even saw some versions which were much more progressive, but then I was like, still like, yeah, but this becomes a bit like too much at one point. But then I saw Gavi's version, and he freaking puts 2 packets behind 1 liter packet, and I'm like, that's it. That's fucking how to do it. Like that's the way I was like sitting there. And I immediately texted it to some friends. I was like, holy shit, that's the way you should do it. Hmm?
Gabby, I remember once, like he was lecturing and doing like this routine, and at the end of the lecture, at the end of this piece of magic in the lecture, someone
Mm.
raised the hand saying, Gabby, don't you think you should verticalize your movement to show, to let the people to see, the grand finale, with the last 2 cards, you should show it up to see the cards. And he said, look, if at the end of the experience you have to put up the cards, you have a big problem. You have had to create, enough interest during the routine to make them stand up to see if the cards, that's the way how it works. And the rest of the of people, in the lecture were like, oh my god. what is true, it's like, of course, so he was saying like, I, I just, I just turn the cards here on the table. I don't show them. If you want to see them, stand up. And that's why he
Mhm.
gets a very good reaction, because the people is on their feet, and they want to clap. And they see each other, but they have to stand up to really see the cards.
Mhm.
So that's a good point as well. Yeah, I don't
It's
know.
also the other thing I find very interesting about Vernon, also like when looking at his books, I think it's in the second Chronicles. He has the undiluted cutting the aces,
Mhm.
which is interesting, right? Because undiluted, and then there it explains how in Stars of Magic they didn't want to have the original version because it was too difficult. But Vernon obviously thought that version was better. Just how in Stars of Magic we have the Triumph Shuffle, which is a
Yeah,
good
the triumph.
shuffle, but actually what actually Vernon always used to do a push through shuffle or strip out. I don't know. But any of the shuffles. You never use the Triumph shuffle. But it's a good shuffle to teach people. Anyway, the interesting thing I find about that is that you already see the trend in Magic where we have or already see the trend. It always has been this way where we have professionals which care a lot about the effect and how it's done. I mean, people just want to have fun and perform Magic. And they don't want to raise their standards up to this higher level. So but I still find it interesting how Vernon is very honest about it. And he's still like, yeah, look, like I published this in Stars of Magic. That's a great book, by the way. But if you want to learn how I like to do this effect, and you want to do the proper version in my eyes, this is the way I do it,
Yeah.
which I think is great.
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, Stars of Magic was, like commercial magic at that time, the best magic
Mm-hmm.
of that time. Where there are like very good, you can find like very good magic in that book.
How
And
would Stars of Magic look like today? Like, let's say it was published today, right now, in this time. How would it look like?
the problem the problem is, what I wanted to say is very related to the question that you are making, because the pieces of magic are really good, but not all the magicians that are on the book were really, really good. I don't know if
Well,
you know.
I mean, not all the pieces are that good. Like a lot of the pieces are good, but everything from Bert Ellerton is.
I'm not naming anyone because you really
Bert
have to.
Ellerton, Bert Ellerton, Bert Ellerton, Bert Ellerton.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not naming anyone because you have to compare. Like, for example, his material on the book is okay, and you have to compare it to yeah, but you have to compare it to the material of the rest of the magician of his time, so you have to
Yeah,
judge
okay, that's
the
fair.
material on its time, so the problem that I found today is like, yeah, you can create a book with the stars of magic of today, but I think you are not going to find this material, as you find, because I think the names that we have today in magic are really, really good, but they didn't create like something very, very relevant, like something that,
Mm,
because I don't know, the transpositions that you can find, or the routines with the balls and on the fish that you
mm.
can find, the aces, the assembly, the ambitious card routine,
Spellbound,
the
kangaroo
spell,
coins.
the watch thing, the card to pocket, the triumph, the many, 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 many things. Malini's material, Leipzig's
Mm,
material. It's impossible to do it today, because
mm.
today is completely completely different. And yeah, okay, come on, do it. But it's going to be different. So I have my team of stars of magic. And yeah, you can do it, but at the same time, it's quite different. I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know if you have your team of stars of magic, but I have
Uh,
it. I
what?
have it. Do you have your team of stars of magic?
What do you mean with team? Like for today, if we would do it today?
Yeah. What magicians would you include in this book?
Well, I would like to go a few years back in time for this, because I would really want to include Roy in this book, as well as Gabby.
Sorry, who's?
Roy Walton.
Yeah.
Like that's why I say I would like to go a few years back, because
Hmm.
like for that book we would need Johnny Thompson, Roy Walton, Gabby Pereira, Juan Tamares, but also I would include Jared Kopp and Paul Fio, for example. Um,
Yeah, but look at this. At that time, there were like many of the magicians that weren't included in the book.
mhm,
And many of, for example, chapters about Malini and Leipzig were written by Vernon. You know,
mhm,
so we could do it today as they did. About, for example, Gabi, but Marlowe, for example, isn't in the book.
mhm,
And I think everyone knows why, because Marlowe doesn't. No, but Marlowe doesn't really have, like very specific material like the
mhm,
one, like the material that there is in the book. But Vernon is the most important figure in the book,
mhm.
for far. I mean,
Definitely. I think also, I guess it would be pretty accurate if I would say that most material in the book is furnace. um, well, not most material in the book, but the magician that comes back the most,
yeah,
person that has the most consecutive contributions to the book. That would be Vernon.
yeah, probably. So you were saying, if you want to continue with your list.
So I would definitely go for Roy Walton, Johnny Thompson, Gabby Juan Tamariz. I guess I would Miguel Gomez as well. It's amazing. Paul Fijo, Jared Koff. Um, I guess if we would do it today, there would also be videos. Then I would definitely want Panta the Smith to go there.
Ponta Smith.
Yeah, well, just for the video, just because I want to see him like fucking throw a coin from this ball into the back of his hand, you know? Just, yeah, other than that, I don't really know, but I mean, this is also very subjective because those are the magicians I really respect and I really like. I would also put Shane in that book, Shane Cobalt. Um, but yeah, because like I said, those are just the magicians I really respect and like. But there are many other great choices for that book today. What about you?
I couldn't pick magicians. I mean, I really respect the original ones.
Well, but like that's what I said. It's assuming that the original one would be written today.
Yeah, man. So if I would have to do it, I would be like, I would have to do honest. I mean, like, because you were saying that the ones you admire, right? But there
Mm,
are people, like, for example, I don't admire. But they have given, to magic community something very important.
mm. Well, but like people whose magic I admire. Some of those people I don't know in person.
Yeah, but so for example, there is no one who has given to coin magic as much as Miguel Angel Gea
Mm.
today, you know, for example. So David Roth was a super important figure in coin magic,
Mm.
but as a performer and as an artist, what Miguel Angel Gea did with David Roth's material was putting it, in the next level, because David Roth did a very good job with the material that people before him, did. So David Roth jumped,
Mm.
and then Miguel Angel Gea jumped. So I would put Miguel Angel Gea, for example, and of course Gabi would have to be there, and you can't avoid putting him on the book. Gabi should be there, and there are many people. For example, in my opinion, Derek Del Gaudio is with his conception, but I don't know what kind of routines he could put in that, or maybe like psychological things, or whatever.
Or Helder,
Derek Del
maybe.
Gaudio, yeah, Helder, of course, Helder Guimaraes. Uh, in my opinion, Vernon Brown has been a very important figure of
Oh,
my.
good one. Yeah.
um, as a type of magicians that we what we understand as a magician, what we, in my opinion, it would be Asewin, because his repertoire is amazing, and his conception is very in the line of Tamaris, but very very new at the same time.
Mm.
Tamaris could be in the book, but like Leipzig or
Mm.
Max Malini were, like someone who isn't in the same, because Tamaris from a different era. Because if you
Mm.
put Tamaris, you should put like, I don't know. Actually, Gabi should be in the book, but Gabi is in a different, you know, like, I
Realm.
don't know. Yeah.
Different universe, man.
Yeah, and if you see, I don't know if you know it, Miguel Munoz is
I
is
don't think I've heard of Miguel.
well. So I'm going to try to post a video on Instagram stories
Mm.
about him and his routine. He's a Grand Prix on Fison,
Oh, okay.
doing a routine about water and balls, and
Mm.
it's amazing. It's simply amazing. It's one of the most beautiful things that I've ever seen in my life. I was lucky because I met him when I was pretty young. He taught me a lot of techniques, and and after this, like many years later, we met. He remembered that day that when we met when I was a little boy, and I went to one of his shows, and he was
Mm.
performing this routine with the water and the balls and everything, but the music didn't work on the theater, so he did the routine on the stage in silence, and it was amazing. Listening the water, falling on the stage, and wow, it was
Mm.
so yeah. So probably Miguel Munoz, and yeah, there are not many other magicians that
Mm.
it's I don't know, that's it. Yeah,
I
it's
think that
hard.
being said, that's a good note to finish. I got to
Sorry.
go soon. I think that being said, that's a good way to finish because I have to leave soon.
Yeah. Well, guys, it was the podcast.
Mm.
We always announce a theme, and we always try to keep the conversation about this theme, but sometimes we go to the places. But please follow us if you don't, and you like our content, try to share it. And if you want us to talk about any other figure of magic or book or whatever subject, just let us know. We'll do it. See you next week.
Definitely. And as an end, I would like to thank our Patreons, Renel Kamal, Jin, Daniel Trill, Brandon, Hong Lim, Mohammed Nayat, Rayun, I hope I said it right, Shimans, Frits Alkemade, Jeffrey Van Vliet, Radak Pekni, and Steve Brownlee. That being said, guys, thank you for watching this week, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks so much.